Welcome to the deep dive. So, if you're out there striving for fluency, the point where a language just feels seamless, natural, you probably think the answer is just drilling grammar.
Or memorizing endless vocabulary lists.
Exactly. And of course, practicing speaking until you can't feel your face.
Right, the traditional approach.
But our sources this week suggest we might have that sequence. Well, completely wrong. They put forward this idea that it's a little counterintuitive at first.
But it makes perfect sense once you hear it.
It really does. The idea is that the key to great speaking isn't mainly in the output, it's in the input. The real foundation for eloquence is listening, but a very specific kind of trained analytical listening.
We're not talking about just having a foreign film on in the background.
No, not at all. We're talking about a focused technique, something designed to rewire how your brain processes language. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're going to dive deep into what separates productive listening from just noise.
We'll look at the best tools, podcasts, YouTube, movies, all the things you're probably already using.
And most importantly, we're going to reveal the step-by-step routine to take you from just being a language consumer to becoming a language master. Okay, let's unpack this.
It really is a huge shift in focus. We almost always see learners prioritizing production.
Speaking, writing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because those are the things that feel like measurable progress. But the sources we looked at make this really compelling case that fluency is, it's fundamentally an input-driven process. Listening is the main event. It's the foundation for literally everything else.
So all that time spent trying to speak might be better spent just listening.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yes.
in a way, for someone who wants practical, fast results, this is critical. It tells you exactly where to spend your most valuable asset, your time.
Mm.
Think about it. If you've spent 80% of your time trying to build sentences from scratch, with grammar rules, but your brain hasn't absorbed enough good input, you're just stuck. You're always in this construction phase.
Right, you're building with individual bricks every single time.
Precisely. Fluency needs a massive, easily accessible auditory database in your head. If that database is weak, your ability to just pull out language naturally is always going to be a struggle.
You just hit on the exact problem. You can't speak what you haven't really absorbed. But here's the puzzle, and this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Most of us already spend hours listening, right? Music, shows, whatever. But that doesn't just magically turn into fluent speech. There's a gap.
A huge gap.
And our sources point to this crucial split that explains why. It's the idea of active listening versus passive listening. So before we get into any routines, we have to understand that. How do we even know which one we're doing?
That distinction is everything. I mean, it is quite literally the difference between actually learning and just mental stagnation.
And most of us are in the passive camp, I'm guessing.
Almost entirely.
Hmm.
But the definition is actually pretty simple. It all just comes down to your engagement, the intensity of it.
Okay, so define them for us. What's passive listening?
Passive listening is basically background noise. It's having a show on while you answer emails or podcasts on while you're at the gym. Your brain isn't really engaged with the language mechanics.
It's just getting the gist.
Or not even that. Sometimes it's just audio wallpaper. It doesn't trigger the parts of your brain that recognize patterns or retain grammar. You might feel like you're being productive.
But you're not really acquiring anything.
The acquisition rate is tiny, negligible. Now, active listening, that's a different beast entirely. It demands your full, intense focus.
So no multitasking.
Absolutely no multitasking. It's a deliberate engagement where you're listening not just for what is being said, the meaning, but for how it's being said.
The mechanics.
Yes, the structure, the rhythm, the idioms, how sounds blend together. That's where the real learning happens because you're telling your brain, analyze this, figure out the patterns.
I get the goal, but wow, that sounds exhausting. If it requires total focus, how can anyone possibly do that for an hour a day without just burning out?
That's an excellent point because it is exhausting at first. And the sources are very clear on this. You don't do it for hours. It's high-intensity practice. That means you do it in short, concentrated bursts, quality over quantity. So instead of listening passively for 2 hours while you do chores,
You take 15 minutes.
you take a 15-minute segment and you actively work on it for maybe 30 minutes. The efficiency of those 30 focused minutes will blow the 2 hours of distraction out of the water. You have to treat it like cognitive labor because that's what it is.
That reframes it completely. It's not about finding more time. It's about making the time you have way more effective.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get practical then. We all have phones, laptops. We have access to media. How do we take these tools we use every day, podcasts, YouTube, and movies, and turn them from entertainment into these active learning instruments?
Well, like we said, the tool itself is neutral, right? It's all about the methodology. For active learning, you have to treat the content less like a story and more like a text you're dissecting.
Like academic text.
A short one, yes. So podcasts are fantastic for this because they force you to rely only on audio. There are no visual crutches.
Which trains your ear.
It trains your ear much harder. So to use them actively, you take a short segment, maybe 3 to 5 minutes of dialogue. Listen once for the gist.
Okay.
Then listen again, but with a transcript.
Yeah.
And you're pausing constantly. You're noting down specific words, phrases that surprise you. Then, for a third listen, you get rid of the transcript. You just try to match the speed and flow.
So you're basically squeezing every last drop of learning out of that one small clip before you move on. What about the visual stuff?
Right, so YouTube adds that visual element, which is super helpful, especially for, beginner, intermediate learners. You need those context clues.
I could see that.
So for active use, you pick short clips with a lot of dialogue, interviews, news segments, things like that. First, you use the visuals to help you understand. But then, and this is a key step, you close your eyes or minimize the window and try to understand with sound alone.
You're forcing your ears to do the work on their own.
You're forcing the auditory system to stand on its own 2 feet. And then you have movies. They're perfect for learning natural, fast-paced, colloquial speech, all the stuff that doesn't show up in textbooks.
But you can't just watch a 2-hour movie.
Absolutely not. You can't watch it straight through and call that active listening. You have to do what some people call micro-listening. Pick one single 60-second scene.
Just 1 minute?
Just 1 minute. Watch it once with subtitles in the target language, once without, and a third time focusing only on the character's intonation, their emotion. You're turning entertainment into a focused analytical exercise.
So we're taking this long-form content and turning it into these surgical learning strikes. You're creating this super dense data stream for your brain to process.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so let's get to the payoff, the whole point of this. How does this intense active listening actually make our speaking better? We have to know that the mechanism is real.
Oh, it's real. And the mechanism is just beautiful. It's all about cognitive efficiency. When you're actively listening, your brain isn't just hearing noise. It's absorbing and cataloging rhythm, grammar, vocabulary, all of it in context.
Not just isolated words.
Never isolated words. It's learning entire prefabricated blueprints for sentences. Think of it like this. If you're a passive learner, every time you want to speak, you have to go find individual bricks, words, and then use grammar rules, the mortar, to stick them together.
It's slow, it's clunky.
It's slow and you make a lot of mistakes, but the active listener, they're downloading full, ready-to-use blueprints. So when they need to express an idea, the brain isn't building, it's just retrieving a whole structure.
That's a powerful idea. That this helps us skip the translation part in our heads. Can you say more about reducing the cognitive load?
Absolutely. The biggest bottleneck to fluency is high cognitive load. When you're trying to speak, your brain is juggling everything at once, syntax, vocabulary, pronunciation, all in real time.
It's a lot to handle.
It's a massive amount. If you have to spend most of your mental energy just building the sentence, you have very little left over for good pronunciation or, thinking about what you actually want to say.
I've definitely been there.
We all have. Active listening reduces that load dramatically. Because you've shown your brain the correct patterns over and over, they become chunks. So when you need a phrase, you don't process the individual words, you just pull out the whole chunk as one unit.
And that frees up brain power.
Instantly. It frees up your cognitive capacity to focus on the higher level parts of communication. That efficiency is fluency.
So we move from painfully constructing to just effortlessly retrieving. That's the roadmap.
That's the roadmap.
Okay. We have the foundation, we have the active versus passive mindset, and we know how to use our media. Let's get to the most important part. The step-by-step listening routine, the daily guide to actually apply all of this.
Right. This is the routine designed to force that shift we talked about.
Right.
And you apply it to one short piece of media, a podcast clip, a movie scene, something about 3 to 5 minutes long. Remember, depth over breadth.
Got it. So what's step 1?
Step 1 is global comprehension. You listen to your chosen clip once, maybe twice, with no help at all, no subtitles, no pausing. The only goal is to get the main idea, the vibe.
So you're not stressing about every word you miss.
Not at all. You're training your brain to be okay with ambiguity. You're just getting the lay of the land.
Okay, what's next?
Step 2,
Mm-hmm.
detailed analysis. This is the really intensive part. Now, you listen again maybe a few times and you can use subtitles, but only in the target language.
Not in your native language.
Never. Your focus here is pure analysis. You're pausing, you're looking up new words, you're noting down interesting phrases, and really paying attention to the grammar and action. You're essentially creating a study guide from the transcript.
So we've gone from the big picture down to the micro-level details. How do we bridge that to actually speaking?
That bridge is step 3. Pronunciation and flow training. Most people call it shadowing. And this might be the most crucial step for connecting what you hear to what you can say.
How does it work?
You listen again, but this time you're focused entirely on the musicality of it, the rhythm, the intonation, the speed. Where do the words link together? Where do they pause for emphasis?
Okay.
And then you immediately start shadowing, which means you repeat what the speaker's saying right after them as closely as you can. You're mimicking their cadence, their pitch, everything. It's not about understanding anymore.
It's a physical exercise.
It is purely a physical practice. You are forcing your mouth and your muscles to match the sounds you're hearing, building that muscle memory. This bypasses the analytical part of your brain and starts making the language automatic. That's where fluency lives.
That must be why you hear about shattering so much. It's the physical rehearsal that takes those mental blueprints and actually starts the construction.
Precisely. And that leads right into the final step. Step 4, independent reproduction.
The final boss.
The final boss. Yeah. You turn everything off, no audio, no transcript, and your goal is just output. Try to summarize the clip in your own words, using the new phrases you just learned, or try to explain the main idea. You're forcing your brain to retrieve that new information, which solidifies it and makes it truly yours.
That's a really clear, functional workout. Context analysis, rehearsal, and then retrieval.
Do that consistently,
Yeah.
and every minute of listening becomes incredibly efficient for improving your speaking.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive talking about fluency, and the common path is just try to speak more. But what we've seen is that the most efficient path is to treat listening as this sophisticated skill that really drives everything else.
The engine of your output.
The engine of your output. The takeaway is you have to prioritize the quality of your input, not just the quantity of your output. You have to know the difference between active and passive, use your media strategically, and follow that 4-step routine.
Absolutely. And maybe as a final thought for you to take away, try this little challenge. For the next 24 hours, just notice all the media you consume in your target language. Then at the end of the day, pick a random 5-minute chunk of it and try to write down the exact phrases, the specific grammar, or the intonation patterns that were used.
I have a feeling I won't remember much.
And if you realize you can only remember the general plot, but none of the actual mechanics, all that time was passive. So the challenge is this. Can you convert just 30 minutes of that passive noise into 15 minutes of focused, high-intensity active listening using this routine?
See what happens.
See how quickly your brain starts filling up with those architectural blueprints you need for fluent, confident speech. Thank you for diving deep with us.